Returned to write a book about post-war Iraq. I began by asking her how different a place it is now.
Well, that's a very interesting question, Alison, because plus ça change, plus la même chose. It's a little bit like, one could say meet the old boss, same as the new boss, although it's not quite that bad. But just in terms of Iraqi society and culture, obviously, there's been a regime change. There's been a huge loss of life, civilian casualties, and that's a very dramatic change. But in terms of how things work on the ground and who's doing what, it's not that different, to tell you the truth. For instance, the minders that used to work at the Ministry of Information, who we all sort of knew and loved as journalists, they were essentially mukhabarat. They were spying on us. Have now gone to work for the American television crews because essentially they are the people that have the skills and the English skills and the journalistic know-how that journalists need on the ground. So, a lot of the old Ba'athist infrastructure is still in place in terms of mid-level bureaucracy, etc. And a lot of the same characters are still around. So while there's been a very dramatic change, obviously, at one level, at other levels, it's still a little static. And I think Americans are realizing this.
I was going to say, what does that mean for those who, I suppose, for people going about their daily life, for people who are, going to work, going shopping, taking their children to school, in terms of the daily activities of life?
Well, daily life is a lot more difficult than it was. The Iraqis are long-suffering. They've been through the two wars, the 12 years of sanctions, and now this invasion and occupation. And how it's having a negative impact, of course, on people's daily life is vis-a-vis the security situation. The women that I've been speaking with at the mosque and in the markets and in their homes are very afraid to go out to any public place unaccompanied. At night, you don't go anywhere. The curfew is at 11, but most people are staying home after dark, after sunset. There are stories right and left of car hijackings and killings and abductions. So obviously there's a very dramatic change in the security situation because Iraq was a much safer place when it was a police state. But in terms of the sort of mechanisms of daily life, I mean the actual markets and the actual people that are running things on that level, not much has changed. I went back to the old Sharjah market and I found the same lady that was selling lentils there 2 years ago. And I think in some ways, she did express a certain amount of, happiness that Saddam was gone, but increasingly you hear, well, obviously our lives were better under the old regime because we had security and we had more stability in our lives.
So at what point then do they think, because one of the conversations that clearly at the higher political levels now is how quickly some kind of control can be handed over to an Iraqi government of some nature. How important is that to the people that you've been speaking with?
Iraqi sovereignty is still a key issue. You see this slogan, I hope my Arabic is all right, Al-Iraq lil Iraqin, Iraq for the Iraqis, which actually is a sort of revival of a nationalist slogan from the 40s. So you see a lot of banners around town with that slogan, and certainly there is a very strong nationalism, which was here before as well. So there's still, this is what I mean by it hasn't changed to a certain degree, in that there's still a real suspicion of foreigners and an antagonism. At the same time, a lot of Iraqis, I tried out that Arabic phrase on a shopkeeper the other day, and he said, no, all nations are together, we are all friends. So there is still, amazingly, a lot of goodwill towards the foreign community and Westerners, despite the occupation and the 12 years of UN-imposed sanctions. So I personally feel that it's a much more dangerous place, and I mean, obviously it is. It's not just my personal experience, but after the first few days, you do get accustomed to how to live life on the ground in Baghdad. And, you know, there's just certain rules. You don't go out at night, and you have to be in by curfew, and you don't go to certain neighborhoods. You know, obviously the physical landscape of the city has changed dramatically. I went by the old Ministry of Information. It's been completely burned and looted and gutted, and was hoping to find my old police file, but I think there's sort of looters living there, so it's not even safe to go in. The Al Rashid Theater was burned and looted. The National Theater is full of sandbags and barriers, you know, for thieves and looters. But there's a young people's theater group that's rehearsing a new play, which is kind of a cross between Mother Courage and Waiting for Godot. It's about people that sell tea in the market, and it's sort of a black comedy. So, you know, people are really resilient in Iraq, and this is the amazing thing about this country, is that having been here at different times of conflict, the people bounce back, and they have a real stoicism, but a genuine sort of inner strength that seems to help them get through these situations.
Ms. Dittmar, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you, Alice.